The second half of the One-Up Turbo Truck Series season for 2022 begins today, right here and right now, at the spacious Watkins Glen International, this beautiful 2.4-mile road course in upstate New York. I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun for everybody involved. Maybe you can enjoy a burger or two while you're watching this race, who knows. Alongside me in the booth today for this race at Watkins Glen is Ben McDonald for today's race, and well, this is a pretty straightforward road course. Watkins Glen favors pretty high speeds, but don't forget about cornering because you're going to need it around this place. So there's a lot of talent up front, but there's also some big names starting at the back. This is going to be a tough place to come from the back to the front, so will strategy play a factor in deciding who gets from the back to the front the fastest?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting race. Momentum is going to be a key factor as we are going to look at our starting lineup. We see hometown boy Jacob McMillen on pole. He's very good at this racetrack. He has won here in the SSS, and he has a really good track record here, but I don't think he's going to be the guy to beat. There's a couple other names in the field like Jared Polanski, Earl Cryer. Those guys have been really dominant the last couple of weeks, so it's going to be very interesting, to say the least, how this race will play out.
Yeah, looking at the grid now, we have Jake McMillen, of course, on pole position, but you got Zach Rogers up there in second, Francois Chastain, the Pukekohe Park winner. He starts third. Jared Polanski, always a threat. Earl Sear, like you said, in seventh place. Noah Hart, after surprising us at Heartland Park, he's starting up in the top 10, so keep an eye on the 09 as well. A lot of big names starting up at the front. This is going to be an absolute thrill for everybody involved. But and there's going to be a lot of passing opportunities on this racetrack, but of all the places you could pass on here, what's the one you think they're going to go for the most here on this 2.45 miles?
Either going down into turn one, the hard braking zone, or going into the bus stop before you hit the carousel. That is the two longest straights at this racetrack, the front stretch and the back stretch. Obviously, there is a short chute after the carousel, but those are going to be the places to pass.
So with that being said, the cars are lined up on the grid, and we're ready to bring you 23 laps of action from Watkins Glen. This is the One-Up Turbo Truck Series for Watkins Glen International. The green flag is next. Stay tuned because you're not going to want to miss a second of the 23 laps to come. As the field rolls down towards the start-finish line, Jake McMillen and Zach Rogers lead us to the green flag. It's in the air, and the Turbo Truck Series is underway at Watkins Glen. The field barrels down into turn one. It's a bit of a downhill stretch. Will Francois Chastain make it free wide? No, he tucks back in line. So it'll be Jake McMillen leading him through the first corner. Everybody makes it through cleanly, and they head off into the S's for the first time.
Yeah, this is where cars and trucks will start to file single. Going up through the S's, Jake McMillan holding off Francois Chastain, doing a really good job in that number one truck.
Zach Rogers stumbled a bit from outside pole. He's now fallen into the clutches of his teammate, Kev Shearer, in the 02, and they barrel it off into the bus stop for the first time. You don't want to be side by side going in through there, because if you get onto that grass, it really slows you down, as a lot of trucks went over it. But that's just the line you take at Watkins Glen as you go through the carousel onto the short chute for the first time. McMillan and Chastain bumper to bumper. Will Chastain make a move into 6? Yes, he will.
Yeah, definitely a big drafting point of this track. The number one inside, but the 12 of Jacob McMillan will have the inside of this next corner as he's going to take the advantage away from Francois Chastain and take the lead.
Coming off of turn 7, it'll be Jake McMillan leading lap number 1 ahead of Francois Chastain. Coming down into turn 1 for the second time. The gap only a tenth of a second after one lap. I have a feeling this is going to be a tight battle for all race long for the rest of this race between McMillan, Chastain, and maybe the King's Motorsports trio of Shearer, Rogers, and Polanski right behind.
Yeah, they are definitely putting up a battle. This is looking to be a three-car battle for the lead right now. The 02 slowly creeping into frame behind that number one truck as the number one makes a move.
Will Kev Shearer make it 3 wide going into the bus stop? That's not wise, and he does not do it. But McMillan and Chastain are going to be side by side through the bus stop. Advantage goes to the 12 because Chastain has to back out going over that one curb, and so McMillan keeps the lead of this race going through the fifth turn, the carousel, off onto the short chute, and now Kev Shearer's making a move on Francois Chastain for second as they dive it off into turn 6.
Yeah, very bold move going side by side into the bus stop. That is a very hard thing to do, but these guys are trained professionals. So great job by these guys in keeping it together.
So as the field rolls through the final corner, McMillan starts to get a bit of a lead as Chastain and Shearer stay side by side. The gap now a half a second between as Shearer tries to go around the outside of turn 1. That's not something that we usually see, and it might not work this time because Chastain holds the spot going up through the S's for the third time in this race. Chastain has got to clear Shearer quickly. He does. So now he can focus on tracking down McMillan, as we got a few trucks that have had issues early in this race. Maston Rebel in the 06, Roger James in the 0, both of whom have pitted for repair work, and they will cycle out to the back of the field about 40 seconds off the lead.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for those guys. Definitely need a solid run, especially at a road course where there's plenty of opportunities, as it's very different style of driving of what we normally see during the season.
So back up front now, it is Jake McMillen holding the lead firmly over Francois Chastain in this race. Diving it off into turn 7, the complete lap number 3, Jake McMillen. This is actually his Turbo Truck Series debut, if you can believe it. And he's not racing like it. He's racing like the veteran he is. And as he barrels off into turn 1, Francois Chastain trying to get a run on him, but nothing doing into this turn.
Yeah, it's definitely showing a statement by the 12 by leading laps and getting the pole in his first ever race in a series that he's never even driven in. So it's very impressive by the number 12, but obviously the 1 and the 02 are not going to give him this race win easily.
And while he's new to the Truck Series, he is by no means new to this racetrack. He's driven hundreds of laps here before, as Francois Chastain makes another move down the inside, but McMillan cuts him off going into the bus stop. Great defensive driving right there.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how drivers play going into the bus stop, as that is a heavy braking corner and very dangerous to go side by side, as I mentioned earlier.
Down the short chute for lap number 4, Wilkev Shearer, he tried to make a peek on Francois Chastain, but he thinks better of it, ducks back in. So, and that might open the door for Zach Rogers to try and come at Shearer for the 3rd position. Rogers going around the outside of turn 7. That's something you don't see a lot either, anywhere really going around the outside here. But Rogers and Shearer side by side. Both of these guys know they'll be coming back to King's Motorsports in 2023, and they want to reward their extension with a victory here today. Might be a bit difficult getting around Chastain and McMillan, but boy, are they going to try.
Yeah, it's definitely secure to have those rides for next season, knowing that you can go out and win races and not have to worry about your future in the sport. So they are definitely going to use this opportunity to focus on the racing, as the 02 trying to make a pass on the 1 here.
Going down, oh, it was almost a 3-wide move into the bus stop, but they do not. They stay single file for now, as Shearer tucks in behind Chastain. This Shearer currently is running in the best position he's ever been in a Turbo Truck Series race, running in 3rd, but he can see the leader through his windshield. He knows the lead is there for the taking, but he's got to get around Chastain to even have a chance at challenging McMillan for the lead.
Yeah, the draft is also keeping these guys very close together, which is something that the Turbo Trucks wanted to do so that we can have close competitive racing throughout. But that 12, he's trying his very best to try to break away from anybody. There might be a possibility that he can. It's just going to take a matter of time, and possibly a pit stop we might see in the near future,
which will come in about 7 laps or so. So, with that being said, there will be a pit stop in this race around lap 14 to 15, but anything can still happen from here on out as we look back at Zach Rogers, who's now being challenged by his boss, Jared Polansky, as Chastain now makes a move for the lead going into the bus stop, but McMillan blocks it off once again.
Yeah, it's very hard to make that move right now. These guys are so even, and the draft is just barely helping, but it's keeping everybody together, which is producing this really great racing. It's just going to be very hard to pass as well.
Now here's a predicament I don't think we saw coming. Francois Chastain running 2nd and Carson Jefferson running 8th have both run a 1 minute 12.213. That is the fastest lap of the race right now. Should the race end that way, they would tie for the fastest lap, and per the rule book, they would both get a point for that. So hopefully, we'll see them both share the bonus for this weekend's race, but who knows? After pit stops, we might see someone else snatch it back. As the top, pretty much the top 12 or so, top 14 run single file through the S's. A long snake working its way through the S's here at Watkins Glen, headed by Jake McMillen.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job leading this line, but he wants to get further away from the next guy, but Francois Chastain putting all the moves on Jacob McMillan as he goes and tries to dive bomb. He's side by side going into the bus stop here. He might be able to make it stick going through the carousel, but no, he backs off.
He has to back off going through the grass there, otherwise they'd both end up with torn up trucks. So good move from Chastain, but as they head down into the turn 6 here, Shearer's going to make a late lunge on Chastain for second. That might open the door for Rogers again, but Shearer tucks back in line, settles back in the third, and lap 7 is complete with the same running order. Even though we've had the same running order for the last several laps, we have not been disappointed as far as the racing result is concerned.
Yeah, but it's also helping Jacob McMillan try to get away from the rest of these guys. If second, third, and fourth place just keep battling each other, it'll just create a bigger gap for him and give him a little bit of cushion going into the pit stops.
You can see now Shearer and Rogers side by side through the S's. So as Rogers has to back out from the outside, gives the position back to Shearer. And so the two teammates racing very hard as now Earl Sear makes a move on Jared Polanski for 5th spot. Remember, Earl Sear won at Heartland Park. He knows his way around the road course pretty well. So, and then behind him, Zachary Bilson, our defending race winner at IRP, plus our points leader going into this race. So, a lot riding on Bilson's performance here today. He's doing a pretty good job in 7th, but a lot still to play for as we still got plenty of racing left.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys battling up in the back, but Earl Sear trying to make that move on the 71, trying to break up that Toyota train that's lined up all together, just trying to create something and put his Chevrolet up in the top spot.
And he's still side by side with Polanski down the front straightaway for the 5th position, but Polanski edges out ahead. He will stay in 6th. But back up front, Jake McMillan with a 2/10 lead over Francois Chastain as the top 4 are starting to pull away a little from the race for 5th, and Jared Polanski starting to be stuck in a race all by himself. Has now the top 4 starting to break away a little bit.
Yeah, they're all doing a great job just side drafting and pushing each other, trying to get out in front, but these guys are just not getting away. These top 4 are just all locked together, but they're not able to make too many passes. There was maybe 1 or 2 passes throughout this race really early on, but it's going to be a while before we see any drastic move, as we still have plenty of racing left.
You don't want to tear it up too early. That's certainly true, but you also want to be in a really good track position when the pit stops arrive. So it's a balancing act for these guys, as Kev Shearer races in 3rd position, trying to climb up the points ladder after missing the first 4 races of the season. But Kev's doing a pretty nice job running 3rd right behind Chastain and McMillan. And as they barrel it off in the turn 1, he is 3rd in that group of 4 out in front. But Polanski and Sear are starting to gain a little bit. Maybe it's the Constantine effect of bunching him up into the corner before spreading him out down the straights again.
Yeah, they are definitely going to try to do their best to get back up there. Obviously, they do want to battle each other and be the first one to get there, but there has to be some compromise and try to get up to the lead, because then if they keep battling, neither of them will get up there.
That was almost a 3-wide move by Kev Shearer going into the bus stop. He wisely backs out. So now it is Chastain in 2nd once again, Shearer back to 3rd. McMillan holds the lead of this race right now, but will it stay that way during pit stops? Because there's got to be at least someone in this race attempting an overcut on the leaders. So we'll see if that pays dividends for them or not. But at this point in time, the top 4 running in pretty much single file formation up until the pit stops.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job just trying not to create a situation where they back up to the guys behind them in 5th and 6th place, just trying to stay in front of them and try to get away as much as possible, but track position is what is key for most of them, especially those that are in points. They definitely want to be out there and try to create a little bit more of a gap in the point standings, but Jacob McMillen, he's only going to be here for race wins, so he's got to do what he can to stay out in front.
And you can see Chastain's gap is getting smaller. He's right on the back bumper of the 12. Going to try and move up the racetrack. That might not do him much good because Kev Shearer now has a run on the inside going into the bus stop. This could be bad for Chastain if Shearer can outbrake him going into the chicane. Doesn't look like it's going to work out, though, because Shearer's going to be side by side and he has the back out going over the curb. So wise move by Shearer to back out. That's going to be something we're going to see all weekend long in this race and in the Superstar race, is drivers going over that one curb exiting the bus stop, having to back out to avoid wrecking their truck or car, and at that point, you might as well just concede the position anyway.
Yeah, they're battling very much going into these corners, and obviously they want to be able to keep their races alive as well as their opponents, even though it may not feel the best to give up a position, but it's the right thing to do.
So, entering lap 12, we're about halfway through this. We're just past entering halfway through this race, as a matter of fact. And Earl Sear's going to try and make a move around Jared Polanski for 5th. He makes it. Earl Sear up into the top 5. But Zach Rogers now working on Kev Shearer for 3rd, going side by side for the S's. Rogers is going to have the upper hand going onto the back straightaway. I think Rogers is going to get the position here on his rookie teammate in the 0-2. Who's going to outbrake the other? Rogers is going to outbrake Shearer, and Rogers takes the place.
Yeah, that 3 definitely helped him going through that. Gave him a good old bump to get by him. Sadly, the 3 wasn't able to follow suit, but he's right on that 0-2's bumper.
So this is actually allowing McMillan and Chastain to pull away a little bit. So keep an eye on that, because if those two get a big gap by the time the pit stops roll around, it could spell trouble for guys like Rogers and Shearer trying to play catch-up after that. But right now it's Jake McMillan, who's led all 12 laps so far. He's looking to do what he did in the Superstar race here a few years ago, lead every lap en route to victory, but there's still plenty of racing left. We got 11 laps to go still.
Yeah, we still have plenty of racing left and a pit stop to go, which is going to be coming up very soon, so it's going to be crunch time for those pit crews to perform one of their best stops of today, especially those that are on the 12 and the 1 crew and anybody else that wants to contend for this win.
So going onto the back straightaway, it looks like it's now a 2-truck battle for the lead, as you see Rimmel and James at the back, and then Ryan Sober just entering the back straightaway as the leaders go through the bus stop. The field's pretty spread out at this point, but McMillan and Chastain are building a pretty big lead over the rest of these guys. Zach Rogers pretty much all by himself now in 3rd, but once the pit stops happen, that may spread the field out even more, and depending on how good Jake McMillan's pit stop is, that could set him up for something big here.
Yeah, he's doing a great job commanding this field and trying to stay out in front of the rest of these competitors, as they are just about to... No, they look like they're staying out. They're getting really close to that pit window, so it's going to be interesting to see who pits first and who tries to stay out and tries to make a bold strategy move.
So going into turn 1, McMillan holds the lead. Chastain 2nd. Zach Rogers is actually gaining on the top 2. Back in 3rd, Rogers could make a run at this in the late stages, but he's got to pass 2 cars that have been hard to pass all race long. No one's been able to pass them on the track so far. I understand passing's a lot trickier on the road courses, but with Zach Rogers' talent level and the equipment he's in, he should be able to make it at least a challenge for these two.
Yeah, he's definitely battling back after that little mix-up, being behind his teammate in the 0-2 and now trying to get by him. So we see some battling in the back.
Here's the battle for 10th between Noah Hart and Robert Weaver. Weaver, of course, the Pikes Peak winner, while Noah Hart surprised many with a top 5 in his debut race at Heartland Park. So the 09 certainly knows his way around road races, but at the front of the field, they stay out another lap for the race leaders. So McMillan leads Chastain and Rogers. Shearer a little further back with Earl Sear. I'm looking forward to when these guys hit pit road, because something is going to happen that is going to shake up this race.
Yeah, definitely execution on pit road for the driver and the pit crews are both very crucial. If the pit crew does really good and the driver doesn't, then they may lose time, vice versa. You both have to be very well on execution, and it's going to cost you a ton of time if one factor leeways on the other.
So as McMillan powers off of the S's onto the back straightaway, he's got more of a gap on Chastain. Chastain's taking a look, but he's too far back to make a lunge. If he were a little closer, that might have been a side-by-side battle, but even then, that might not be one he could win. So as they enter the carousel for lap number 15, it's McMillan out front. Pit stops are coming ever closer for the leaders.
Yeah, going through 6 and 7 here. We were just wondering, oh, when are they going to start diving down on the pit road? And maybe this time, as we're going to watch, see how these guys enter. Yes, it looks like they will be hitting this time by.
The top 4 certainly are, but I think Earl Sear is going to stay out. So the leaders hit pit road. Earl Sear is going to stay on the racetrack, try and lead a lap, get a bonus point to assist him in his chase of Zachary Bilson for the points lead. But looking further back, Bilson stayed out, Polanski stayed out, Carson Jefferson, Billy Kidd, Robert Weaver, Nick Ortiz, Henry Brown, Brian Grigsby, James Ellison, they all stayed on the racetrack. Jeff Bolton making a one-off appearance in the Turbo Truck Series, he stays on the racetrack as well. Looking further back, see who else went an extra lap. Aiden Smith, Audrey Anzac, Levi Forley, Dalton Sate making a return to the Truck Series, Austin Shane Fisher in the other Crossroads truck. They all stayed out along with Ryan Soper. But here's the race off pit road. You see Jake McMillen has a real nice advantage over Francois Chastain, and you see Kev Shearer has once again gotten back past Zach Rogers exiting the pits. And Noah Hart, with a great pit stop, jumped at least 4 trucks making this pit stop.
Yeah, great job by Jacob McMillan executing on pit road and keeping that lead. Now he's going to try to build a gap and try not to let Francois Chastain to get into his draft, as we now see the next group of drivers come down pit road, as this is going to be interesting to see if the undercut or the overcut is going to work for these drivers.
It looks like Rimmel and Roger James are sitting on pit road getting some repair work done. The 06 and the 0, they're going to have a tough road the rest of the way. They're going to fall multiple laps down at this rate. A tough break for them, but we'll look now at the pit stops here. Earl Sear's the first one into his box. He's getting the lefts. He's going to get the rights as well. So, and we're looking on the right-hand side of the screen. On the front stretch, you'll see Jake McMillen powering down very soon. There he is, and he's going to easily clear Earl Sear. So the undercut was the way to go, but I think Earl Sear is actually going to cycle out into the pack, back up into the 3rd position. He's actually going to gain spots by overcutting. A great strategy by Earl Sear. However, his tires are still very much cold, while Kev Shearer's have been warmed up nicely. The 02 is going to be on a charge.
Yeah, definitely the clear track helped out the 3 tremendously, getting a couple more positions, which will definitely help him in the points, but obviously still have to chase down 2 more trucks to get to that lead once again.
We look back now to see all the drivers blending in on the racetrack, but back up front, you see the battle now for 3rd brewing between Earl Sear, who overcut, Kev Shearer, who undercut. So a battle of strategies on the racetrack. I think Kev Shearer has the better tires, though. He's got them warmed up already. They're a lap older, but they're ready to race. And he dives it off on the outside of turn 6. Not something you see every day. But Shearer makes the pass work. He's past Sear, and Shearer is up in the 3rd once again.
Yeah, great move by the 02. Obviously, the more worn-in tires at the beginning of these races definitely help with grip, especially around that outside. That can be very useful, and he proves it that it is a valuable asset to have those warmed-up tires.
One more thing to point out after the pit stops is Zachary Bilson has gotten ahead of his teammate Zach Rogers to move up into the 5th spot, moved Rogers back to 6th. A great move by Bilson, who's looking to keep his points lead handy. Because remember, after this, we haven't mentioned it yet, but after this race, there are only 2 more races in the regular season. And the regular season champion gets a bonus 5 points going into the playoffs. So Bilson's doing everything he can to keep that points lead. He's going to need it when we get to Canadian Tire in a few weeks.
Yeah, points mean everything, especially once the playoffs start. You want to stay in front as much as you can, especially once it comes down to the final race where every point matters. You definitely need to have those extra bonus points just in case. Doesn't matter what situation you're in, you definitely do want those bonus points.
One driver who's not worried about points in the slightest is Jake McMillen. He's here for one reason, and that's to win this race. And he's doing a really nice job of it. We're coming to 5 laps to go this time, and the lead is shrinking, though, between he and Francois Chastain. They both go a little wide through turn 1 onto that wide curb on the outside, but the gap stays pretty similar, and going through the S's, this is going to be a very close battle for the rest of this race between Chastain, a proven winner in this series on road courses, and Jake McMillen, probably the best there is at this racetrack.
Yeah, definitely. The hometown crowd is definitely excited to see Jacob McMillan back in the lead as he normally does at this racetrack. But that number 1 of Francois Chastain, he's not going to let that pressure hold him back. He definitely wants to be the underdog and wants to be the person at the top of this series and maybe even move up into other series and be well known there. But right now, at this moment, it's between the 12 and the 1, and it's going to come down to the very end.
And you saw Chastain try and make a move on the 12, but he just backed out of it, didn't want to risk tearing it up, because Chastain is in the mix for that regular season championship as well, and he can't afford to crash out here, even with only 3 races remaining in the regular season, 2 after today. So, with 4 laps to go, if Chastain can't get around the 12 of McMillan, he's just got to settle in, protect against Kev Shearer, who's about 5 seconds behind, and just cruise home in second and take the 45 points that come with it.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a 1-2 finish for these guys. I don't think anybody has enough speed to catch up almost 5 seconds plus, even if you're further back, to catch up to these two. But the one trying to make a bit of a move backs out. These guys are the 2 most dominant cars of today, as been proven this whole entire race, being 1-2 this whole entire race from start to beginning, start to end right now. And it's going to be interesting to see who is actually going to come out on top. Will it be the guy that has led almost every single lap of this race, or will it be the one who has been sitting patiently behind the 12?
Coming to 3 laps to go. Next time they cross the start-finish line, McMillan holding off Chastain, who's starting to lose touch with the 12. Did the 1 use up his stuff trying to make a charge? He needs to save something for the very end, because that is when the crazy is going to happen, as they say. So, diving it off into turn 1, they stay pretty much the same distance. 0.3 of a second separate the 2. But with 3 laps to go, time's running out, and desperation is growing.
Yeah, the 12 has had clean air this whole entire race, this whole entire run. The 1 just battling that dirty air, especially in those high banked corners like the carousel, or going through 1, trying to make a good move on him right now. Lunging on into the inside, going into the first part of this side-by-side, going through the bus stop, and it looks like he has to back out just a bit. Great move by the 1, showing that he is there, making the 12 work for it.
So going off onto the short chute once again, we're coming to 2 laps to go in this race. So everything is left to play for between the top 2, McMillan and Chastain, going through. You see Zach Rogers has taken the fastest lap away from Chastain and Jefferson. Actually, it's a Kings Motorsports 1-2-3 on the fastest lap leaderboard. But that doesn't matter to McMillan and Chastain. They are looking for a win, and there's only 2 laps separating them from it.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting 2 laps to see what Francois Chastain wants to do in attack mode and see what Jacob McMillan is going to do on the defensive side, as he has been doing a really good job of holding off this 1, but will he be able to hold him off for much longer? Will he make too much of an aggressive move? Maybe they both spin out. Who knows? It all is going to come down to these final 2 laps here.
And Chastain saved something because he's making a move going into the bus stop. This is going to be for the lead. Can Chastain outbrake McMillan? They're going to be side by side going through. That's going to give the advantage to the 12. And Chastain goes through the grass a little bit, has to back out. McMillan holds the lead. We're coming to the white flag this time, and everything still to play for. In this race, McMillan holds a slim lead over Chastain. Kev Shearer about 4.8 back. It's not going to be a factor unless these two crash out. And we've seen that happen before at Watkins Glen, the leaders tangle on the last lap. Could it happen here today, as we're coming to the white flag this time?
These guys putting up a great fight. The bus stop looks like the passing zone for Francois Chastain, but there's still plenty of passes. White flag is out. Jacob McMillen, Francois Chastain, 1-2, all battling it, coming down into turn 1 for the final time today and going to go up the S's.
Down for the final time in this race. The white flag is out. We've got 2.5 miles to settle this race at Watkins Glen. Jake McMillen, Francois Chastain. One of them is going to be a race winner. Who's it going to be? Chastain's a little further back than he was earlier. Could that be the end of his challenge? He's got to make a big lunge into the bus stop, I think, if he's going to have any more shot at it. He's going to try, but he's a little too far back. Through the bus stop for the final time and into the carousel. McMillan holds the lead. Could this be it for the one?
He has one more passing opportunity going into 6 and 7. He just has to build up the momentum coming off the carousel for the final time into the short chute. He's staying right behind that 12, trying to get as much draft as he can. Maybe going to make a lunge. No, the 12 stays out in front.
So coming through turns 6 and 7 for the final time, Jake McMillan, who's never raced a truck before today, is going to come off of turn 7, and at the place he calls home, going to score his first career win in his series debut. Jake McMillan takes the checkered flag and wins at Watkins Glen in the 1-Up Turbo Truck Series for his first win and his first start. You can't get much better than that. Francois Chastain, after putting up a valiant charge all race long, comes home second to boost him up the points tally. Kev Shearer gets his career best finish in the Turbo Truck Series with a third. Zach Rogers got around Earl Sear on the final lap to come home fourth. Ahead of Sear in fifth, Zachary Bilson should keep the points lead with a sixth place finisher today. Noah Hart gets his second top 10 of his career in seventh. A great run for the 09 team and Ladion Autosport. Jared Polanski fell to eighth at the end, ahead of Carson Jefferson, ninth, and Billy Kidd rounding out the top 10. And as a matter of fact, all four of the Robbers Racing trucks finished right in front of the others. They all came home in the top 15, but today belonged to Jake McMillan. You knew it from the moment the green flag dropped, and he got that far ahead. This is a track he loves, he knows very well, and he's a winner now in both the Superstar Series and the Turbo Truck Series here at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, I did a really good job leading the majority of this race except for the pit stop. Executed on the pit stop, which was the big thing. Wondering to see how the undercut versus the overcut, and obviously the undercut worked for the 12. Great job by everybody in this field, especially Francois Chastain for putting up a fight to an SSS driver. Definitely going to get some eyes for some potential rides going up the ladder coming up for him.
So with that, the 1-Up Turbo Truck Series says goodbye to Watkins Glen for this year. I'm sure we'll be back for the next season, but coming up soon, the Truck Series hits the dirt for the first time, as we take on Knoxville Raceway in Iowa for the second to last race of the regular season, race number 12 in Knoxville. That is going to be a lot of fun to watch. These trucks slip and slide around on the dirt. It's going to be a lot of fun. What are you going to expect to see there as we get closer to the playoff field being set?
We're going to see a lot of fun racing, a lot of beating and banging, especially at Knoxville. It's going to be a really good race there. Going to have to watch it from TV at home, maybe even the broadcast booth. Who knows? But it's definitely going to be a good one to watch.
So, with that being said, from Ben McDonnell and from myself as well, we say goodbye from the Watkins Glen International Road Course. We say goodbye for now, but we'll be back soon with racing at Knoxville soon. But big congratulations to Jake McMillan. He thoroughly earned this race win, leading 21 of the 23 laps. He is your winner today. We'll see him again in the truck pretty soon. But for now, it's on to Knoxville, getting dirty for the 1-Up Turbo Truck Series.